The bride ran off. I stood in the dressing room, my hand tightly gripping her arm. My fingertips were white from how hard I was squeezing. If Sarah Miller walked away now, our 5 years together would truly become a joke. Sarah, please, don't go. The wedding is about to start. Sarah glared at me, just like she had countless times before when scolding me for being foolish. Ethan Green needs surgery. You know how serious his condition is. He only knows me in this city. I have to go with him. I felt a surge of unwillingness, my voice trembling slightly, but I still tried my best to persuade her. What about me? All the guests are here. Do you really have to leave now? Sarah was clearly impatient. She pulled her arm away from me with disgust, pushed open the door, and walked out. She left without a second thought, without any lingering hesitation. Ethan Green needed her, but what about me? Why was my wife asking me to step aside for another man on our wedding day? I clenched my fists, angrily chasing after her, but stopped at the doorway. All the guests were standing there. My parents looked at me, their faces pale, asking disbelievingly, "Is Sarah going shopping?" Sarah Miller's friends and family looked at me with sympathy. They knew very well that the only person who could make Sarah act so recklessly was Ethan Green. I took a heavy step back, wanting to retreat into the room and close the door, not wanting to see anyone, but my feet wouldn't listen. My parents quickly understood what had happened. I don't remember how I got back inside, only that my parents, full of apologies, saw off all the guests for me. Sarah came to find me 3 nights later. I was home alone. Sarah sat on the sofa, watching me cautiously. How is Ethan Green? Was the surgery successful? Sarah was taken aback, surprised that I would ask about Ethan Green so calmly. It was successful. I nodded. That's good. I looked into her eyes. In the past, whenever I looked into her eyes, I would believe every word she said. She said she had nothing to do with Ethan Green anymore, and I believed her. She said she loved me, only me, and I believed her. She said I was her everything, that her world revolved only around me, and I believed that too. But what did I get in return? Repeated deception and humiliation. Alex, I'm sorry. Are you okay? I smiled. I'm okay. I poured her some water and placed it in front of her. She had a sensitive stomach and couldn't drink cold water. Our wedding is cancelled. I've transferred your money back to your bank card. Give me back the money for the renovations. The house and car are mine, I bought them. Sarah's face turned white. She looked at me in shock. Are you leaving me? I shook my head. You left me. Sarah's voice was hoarse. Listen to me, he needed surgery. Didn't it go successfully? I cut her off. You can be together now. I wish you well. I told myself I had moved on, but saying those words, my heart still ached terribly. I struggled to control myself. As a man, maintaining my composure at that moment was the greatest restraint I could manage. You should go. My mother will contact you about everything else. The moment I pushed her out, I finally snapped. I violently smashed the vase by the entryway. Our 5 years together, the 5 years I spent putting her in this relationship first, she saw it all. How many times had she left me behind for Ethan Green before? I had endured it. They were high school sweethearts. Ethan Green came from a poor background and had a heart condition. I could understand Sarah Miller taking care of him more. But her care for him had become a habit. She habitually assumed I would wait for her, habitually chose Ethan Green first. I was truly resentful. Adamant about canceling the wedding. What are you doing here? I was half asleep when I heard a commotion at the door. I walked out and found my parents were back. When I opened the door, Sarah Miller was still standing there, her face pale from the cold. Mom, listen to me, I truly love Alex Anderson. Love Alex Anderson? Before she could finish, my mother cut her off. If you loved him, would you abandon him on your wedding day to see another man? If you loved him, would you leave him alone there to be humiliated? Sarah Miller opened her mouth, wanting to speak, but ultimately nothing came out. She just looked at me pleadingly. Alex, we had 5 years together. Can't you give me another chance? Sarah Miller said, her eyes red, her voice pleading. You still remember our 5 years together? In those 5 years, you never once firmly chose me over Ethan Green. Sarah Miller blinked, looking somewhat guilty. Didn't he have health problems? I had heard that excuse countless times. Hearing it again now, I felt a strange urge to laugh. My father pulled my mother inside, then patted my shoulder. Come in and talk. Don't disturb the neighbors this late. I shook my head. There's nothing more to say. Just figure out the accounts with me, and we can do a transfer money directly. With that, I closed the door, shutting Sarah Miller's explanations out. My mother looked at me, wanting to say something, but in the end, my father spoke. Since things are clear, you need to look forward. I nodded and said okay. Sarah Miller's text messages came in one after another, begging for my forgiveness. She and Ethan Green were high school classmates. Her family wasn't well off, but she was ambitious. Whenever she talked about her parents' oppression and control, my heart ached for her. Her parents controlled everything about her since she was little, from her studies and friendships to her clothing and spending. So, after I got together with her, I always indulged her, doing my best to make her feel warmth and freedom. Thinking back now, I feel like I was just trapping myself. Sarah Miller probably thought she could just show weakness and expose her wounds like before, and I would forgive her. Playing the sympathy card was a tactic she was too skilled at. Sarah Miller's parents also called me, first cursing out Ethan Green, then praising me to the skies. I just smiled and told them to get the renovation cost of the house appraised quickly, otherwise I would find someone myself. Even if I were stupid, I wouldn't make the same mistake with the same person over and over again. But when I brought people to appraise the house, someone was already living inside. A strange couple looked at me curiously. We already bought this house. I thought I had come to the wrong place and checked again. I was sure this was the right address. You bought it? From who? Sarah Miller/Ms. Miller. I arranged to meet Sarah Miller. She arrived late. Seeing her guilty expression, she must have known why I wanted to see her. You sold the house? I asked her directly. She nodded. Yeah. I had paid for the house, but her name was also on the deed. The renovations were also planned according to her ideas for our home, so I had given her the money and trusted her to manage the renovations. I couldn't even count how many times she had asked me for money over time. Okay, then give me back the money for the renovations. Sarah Miller lowered her head and mumbled, I don't have it right now. No money to give you. Can it be a little later? I frowned. You sold the house, and you still don't have the money? Sarah Miller swallowed, looked at me cautiously, and then said, the money was for Ethan Green's surgery. The terrible woman, my throat tightened, and my heart ached. I asked her in a hoarse voice, when did you sell the house? 2 months ago. He. I couldn't help but laugh. 2 months ago? She sold our marital home to pay for her first crush's surgery. Her supposed fiancé, knew nothing about it. How could she have the nerve to say she loved me before? And where did she get the audacity to beg for my forgiveness? Sarah, you're truly terrifying. She kept her head down, not daring to meet my gaze. I looked at her, feeling only mockery in my heart. This 5-year relationship, it really was just a joke. I took the bank card from my pocket and placed it on the table. This was the bank card where we had saved money together. It had always been with me. I hadn't touched the money inside, nor had I linked my phone number to it. Since she sold the house to pay for Ethan Green's medical expenses, the money in here must have been transferred out, right? Sarah Miller stared blankly at the bank card on the table. After a long pause, she looked at me heartbroken and asked, Are you giving me the card? You're really planning to cut ties with me completely? Listening to her question, I just felt exhausted. The renovation cost is around 300,000 yuan. I won't bother you about the rest. Just write an IOU and pay it back within 6 months. If you're overdue, I will take legal action. She nodded. Okay, but can you lend me another 100,000 yuan? Ethan Green's son's illness. I was surprised. Ethan Green had a son? Is he your child? Sarah Miller quickly denied it. No, he's Sophia Cheney's. I was so shocked I almost dropped my phone. Sophia Cheney was someone I knew from high school, a prominent figure at school. How would he know Sophia Cheney? I didn't mean to belittle Ethan Green, but it was incredible that someone of his social standing could get close to Sophia Cheney and have a relationship with her. Sarah Miller wrote the IOU, but I didn't lend her the money. She asked a few more times, but seeing my firm attitude, she gave up. When I got home and walked in, I saw an unfamiliar back in the sofa. My mother was chatting warmly with her, looking very happy. Enter. She excitedly beckoned me over. Alex, come here quickly. My heart sank. She wasn't trying to set me up on a blind date, was she? I walked over with a frown. The woman on the sofa suddenly turned to look at me. Wasn't it Sophia Cheney? This is my son, Alex. You were at the same high school, but you're 2 years older than him, so you probably don't know each other. Sophia Cheney's lips curved slightly. She stood up gracefully and extended her hand towards me. We know each other. I've seen him, Alex Anderson. I was a bit surprised that she knew me. Sophia Cheney was very famous at school back then, smart, beautiful, and from an excellent family. It was surprising that such a prominent figure would remember me. However, the look in her eyes didn't seem like she was lying. Sophia Chaney suddenly took a silver keychain pendant from her bag. You asked me to hold this for you back then. It's been 10 years, and you never came back for it. I quickly reached out and took it. My name was still written on it. It really was mine. But when had I lost it? And how did it end up in Sophia Chaney's hands? My mother's eyes darted around. She stood up and said, Alex, Mom suddenly has something to go out for. Can you entertain Sophia for me? Before I could say anything, my mother had already grabbed her bag and walked out, without even changing her slippers. I looked at Sophia Chaney, feeling incredibly awkward. You probably have a boyfriend, right, senior? Awkward scene. Sophia Chaney was startled, not expecting me to ask so directly. She had a child with Ethan Green, and they weren't even married, with the surgery fees depending on his ex-girlfriend selling a house. Could this Sophia Chaney be some kind of player, someone who didn't even care about her own child? No. I felt a wave of revulsion. So that was it. Really? I thought, feeling contemptuous. Sophia Chaney seemed to sense that my attitude towards her wasn't friendly. She looked curious. What's wrong? Do you seem to have some misunderstanding about me? I just smiled without answering. My first meeting with Sophia Chaney after so many years ended inconclusively. I didn't expect our paths to cross again, but a month later, she showed up at a friend's birthday party. You're here too? Sophia Chaney and I were standing together waiting for the elevator. She spoke first. I nodded and said yes. Alex? I heard a familiar voice. I turned my head and saw Sarah Miller standing there, with Ethan Green beside her. Ethan Green looked much better, not as frail as before. My peripheral vision caught Sophia Chaney standing beside me. What an awkward scene. Sarah Miller looked at me nervously. Who is this? Ethan Green's gaze also fell on Sophia Chaney. His eyes immediately softened, and he called out softly, Hello, Miss Chaney. It clicked in my mind. So, it was a superior-subordinate relationship. This Sophia Chaney really had her ways, exploiting her position with a subordinate and even having a child born out of wedlock with him. Sophia Chaney didn't show much expression. She nodded slightly at him and asked emotionlessly, Are you feeling better? Ethan Green quickly nodded. Thank you for your concern, Miss Chaney. Much better. Sophia Chaney withdrew her gaze and said nothing more. Sarah Miller and Ethan Green walked over and stood closer to us. Alex, how are you? Ethan Green suddenly asked me, his eyes, however, fixed on Sophia Chaney. Why wouldn't I be? I was uncomfortable with his overly familiar address, my tone sharp. He looked at me, then at Sophia Chaney. You know Miss Chaney too? I looked at the arm he had draped around Sarah Miller's waist, yet his gaze was overtly directed towards Sophia Chaney. A sudden wave of anger surged through me. At that moment, a delicate hand suddenly linked through my arm. I looked sideways in confusion and saw Sophia Chaney winking at me. I immediately wanted to provoke Ethan Green and Sarah Miller. I pretended to be close to Sophia Chaney and said with a smile, We've known each other for about 10 years. Sophia Chaney chimed in, Yes, 10 years. Though Ethan Green was smiling, his eyes were filled with hatred towards me. He looked at me coldly and smiled. Miss Chaney, allow me to introduce you. This is my fiancée, Sarah Miller. Fiancée already? Sarah Miller looked away, not meeting anyone's eyes. I expected to feel hurt, but I was surprisingly calm, completely unfazed by this news. Sophia Chaney patted my hand. The elevator's here. I nodded. As I stepped into the elevator, I turned back and said to Ethan Green, Your fiancée gave you 300,000 yuan for your surgery from the money she owes me. Remember to pay it back. Ethan Green looked at Sophia Chaney in a panic. I sneered inwardly. They were already engaged, yet he cared so much about another woman's opinion. These two were truly a perfect match. I just went to deliver a gift and came right back. Sophia Chaney was a prominent figure, so it was hard for her to leave once she was inside. As I headed towards the parking lot, snowflakes suddenly began to fall. I rubbed my hands, feeling a little cold. Why didn't you wait for me? A familiar voice suddenly came from behind me. I turned around and saw Sophia Chaney standing behind me, smiling. She must not have known how captivating her smile was. Even after all these years, she was still the most radiant person in a crowd. Ethan Green asks for a meeting. I thought you'd be staying for a long time. She smiled and stood beside me. We came together, of course we'll leave together. Just as I was about to speak, I saw Ethan Green running out. It looked like he was heading towards Sophia Chaney. Sure enough, he ran to Sophia Chaney's side, pulled out a note, and handed it to her. Miss Chaney, you have a sensitive stomach. Didn't you really like the soup I made last time?
I wrote down the recipe on this note. I couldn't help but admire him.
He was truly thoughtful, no wonder Sarah Miller had been so fixated on him all these years. Sophia Chaney looked down at the note Ethan Green handed her and frowned slightly.
I don't remember drinking any soup you made.
Ethan Green froze, his ears turning red the next second. He quickly glanced at me, his face looking even worse.
And, Sophia Chaney continued, my stomach is perfectly fine.
Ethan Green stood frozen, looking bewildered.
I wasn't interested in their drama, nor did I feel like watching.
I had reached my car anyway. I said goodbye to Sophia Chaney and was about to leave. The car door had just closed when it was opened again from the outside. Sophia Chaney got in without changing her expression and said faintly, "Let's go."
Where?
Sophia Chaney turned to look at me when she heard my question.
To your home. I actually have something to talk to your mother about. She sounded sincere, not like she was lying. But when had she become so close to my mother? In the end, Sophia Chaney didn't come to my place.
She took a phone call, asked me to pull over on the side of the road, and got out. Then, right after I got out of the shower, I saw a text message from Ethan Green. Although we were connected, we had never actually talked. This was the first time.
He asked to meet, saying he had something important to tell me.
He was very humble in his approach, so I didn't refuse. When I arrived the next day, Ethan Green was already there and had ordered the food. He was holding a fussy child in his arms, about a year old, old enough to say Dad.
This is? Ethan Green looked at the child in his arms with affection. My child.
This little one almost killed me. This must be Sophia Chaney's child. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have needed such serious organ transplant surgery.
You and Sarah Miller also. I smiled faint. And didn't say anything.
Ethan Green had bankrupted Sarah Miller for Sophia Chaney's child.
How interesting. Do you know who the child's mother is? I pretended to think. Who is it? Do I know her?
Ethan Green snorted and stared at me with cold eyes, but didn't speak.
I wasn't in a hurry either.
I ate my food patiently while waiting for him.
Ethan Green was indeed a very thoughtful person.
We had only eaten together a few times, but he remembered my preferences. The dishes he ordered this time were all ones I liked.
Actually, Ethan Green looked at me and said, I shouldn't be telling you this, but you and Sarah Miller ending up like this is ultimately because of me. I nodded.
Sarah Miller and I were together because of him, but also not because of him. I had thought a lot these past few days.
Sarah Miller and I weren't a good match.
I was just used to tolerating her, but it wasn't completely because of love, more out of pity.
But actually, Sarah Miller wasn't someone who deserved pity.
She had her own set of rules internally, and she was a very strong-willed person, not as weak as she claimed. Weakness was just her weapon. So, I decided I should still tell you this. This child is Sophia Chaney's. The child's mother Ethan Green had built up to this because he saw how close Sophia Chaney and I were last night. He knew he couldn't marry Sophia Chaney, and he couldn't stand the thought of me and Sophia Chaney getting together.
Really? He nodded very firmly. I laughed softly. You're bringing your child born out of wedlock and asking Sarah Miller to marry you and be his stepmother? Do her parents know?
When Sarah Miller and I were together, even though I was much better than her in terms of family background, looks, and ability, her parents still found fault with me. Ethan Green only dated Sarah Miller for half a year before her parents forced them to break up. In recent years, Ethan Green's family had become more financial. Strained because of his brother's wedding, and he had lost his job and was sick. Her parents would never have agreed to her marrying him, let alone him having a child.
Ethan Green's face instantly turned pale when he heard me ask that. They have accepted it. I smiled. That's good then.
But looking at his expression, I knew Sarah Miller's parents definitely didn't know about him and Sarah Miller being together. After we broke off the engagement, her parents came to see me a few times. Seeing that I wouldn't agree, they became angry and insulted me. After that, we blocked each other. I heard they had returned to their hometown. Ethan Green looked at his phone, as if someone had sent him a message. I couldn't quite figure out what he was trying to do.
Mr. Anderson, I'm sincerely advising you. I know I've wronged you. I'll get down on my knees.
As he spoke, he suddenly stood up, holding the child, and plopped down on his knees in front of me. Before I could say anything, the private room door opened.
Sarah Miller darted forward, rushing to Ethan Green's side, and glared at me.
Alex Anderson, I told you, our business has nothing to do with Ethan Green. I rubbed my forehead, looking confusedly at Ethan Green, who was still kneeling and refusing to get up. I asked sincerely, I've already broken off the engagement with Sarah Miller.
We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Why are you crying and kneeling? Isn't it pointless? Or do you just like kneeling to people by nature? Alex Anderson. Sarah Miller snapped. Don't go too far. Do you think this will make me leave Ethan Green and be with you? I was speechless.
These two were truly a match made in heaven, both completely unable to understand reason.
Mr. Green, if you want to kneel, go ahead. I don't have the time to play along with you.
I stood up to leave, but Sarah Miller grabbed my arm.
Apologize to Ethan Green.
I looked at her, amused.
What did you say? You want me to apologize to someone who was involved in breaking up my relationship? Are you crazy?
The child in Ethan Green's arms cried louder and louder.
Sarah Miller's distress was clear on her face. What's all the commotion? The private room door opened again. It was Sophia Cheney.
Ethan Green, holding the crying child in his arms, said to me, Mr. Anderson, I know you hate me, but the child is innocent. You can hit me, you can curse at me, but please don't say things like that about a child. So, the real target of this kneeling act was Sophia Cheney.
I sighed. I don't have time to play with you guys. You are the child's biological father, and you are the child's stepmother. Talk it out slowly. I'm leaving first. Sophia Cheney frowned tightly. As I was about to leave, she blocked my way. Biological father? Stepmother?
Explain yourself. I pointed at Ethan Green. Just as I was about to speak, I saw his expression was panicked, his body trembling. Sophia Cheney looked at the child in Ethan Green's arms, then at me, looking very confused.
What does that mean?
Looking at her, she seemed unwilling to acknowledge the child. I felt a hint of disdain in my heart. Your consequences of past affairs, senior. I was about to leave, but she blocked me again.
Wait a minute.
She grabbed my wrist, as if afraid I would leave, and then walked up to Ethan Green.
Mr. Green, I think you should clarify this matter. Ethan Green stammered.
Sarah Miller immediately squatted down, watching us vigilantly, glaring at Sophia Cheney.
Miss Cheney, you're a woman too.
Ignoring and abandoning a child you carried for 10 months, isn't that going too far?
Sophia Cheney was stunned.
It took her a while to react. Her voice was full of annoyance.
I've suddenly become a mother for no reason, and now I'm the one being accused of being mean?
She said, looking at Ethan Green.
If you're not willing to explain, we can call the police. You're slandering me like this. I can absolutely sue you. Ethan Green's face turned white with fright.
His arms were so weak he could barely hold the child.
He looked up at Sarah Miller. This child, he's not Miss Cheney's.
High school feeling. Sarah Miller's eyes widened instantly, her face filled with disbelief.
He's not hers?
She thought for a moment and comforted Ethan Green.
Don't be afraid.
I know she's rich, but she's the one who gave birth to the child.
She can't escape responsibility. Ethan Green shook his head. He's really not Miss Cheney's.
Sarah Miller was completely bewildered.
Actually, I was just as bewildered as Sarah Miller.
He confidently invited me out, and even used the child to make me stay away from Sophia Cheney.
Was it all just a staged act? Sophia Cheney wasn't surprised by this answer.
She turned to me and explained, we're not even superior and subordinate.
His daily work involves dealing with my assistant.
We've only exchanged a few words in total, so how could there be a child?
And I'm not the type of person to have a child out of wedlock. Spreading rumors like this about my reputation, let's call the police. I nodded. After a while, it dawned on me. Why was she explaining to me?
This matter had nothing to do with me in the first place.
I coughed awkwardly. You don't need to explain to me. But Sophia Cheney looked at me in my eyes with unusual seriousness. I just want to explain to you. We were both adults. How could I not understand what she meant by saying that? But at that moment, I could only laugh awkwardly and look away.
Sarah Miller looked at the man on the ground in despair.
Then whose child is this? How many women have you been with?
The child started crying loudly, scared by Sarah Miller's angry shout. Ethan Green bit his lip and stammered, this child.
Mr. Green, if you can't explain clearly, then we'll go to the police station and explain. Sophia Cheney also seemed very angry.
She took out her phone, ready to call the police. Rightly so, she was a beautiful woman. Being falsely accused of having a child born out of wedlock for no reason, I would be angry too. Ethan Green panicked when he heard this and quickly said, I'll talk. The child was a consequence of his drunken one-night stand, but the woman hadn't told him at first. She only found him after the child was born and blackmailed a large sum of money from him. She threatened me, saying if I called the police, she would kill me and my family, and this child. She abandoned the child with me.
The child is innocent, after all, it's a life. Sarah Miller blinked, looking at Ethan Green with hesitation. Having been with Sarah Miller for so many years, I knew from her expression that she believed Ethan Green's clumsy lie. I shook my head. Let's go. This has nothing to do with us anymore. I drove Sophia Cheney home. I didn't dare look at her the whole way.
From the beginning, I should have realized.
The way she looked at me really said a lot. We're here. You.
Sophia Cheney looked at me, then suddenly smiled indulgently. She then got out of the car.
Thank you for driving me home. She didn't say anything more. I sighed in relief.
I watched her walk towards the neighborhood entrance and saw her turn back to wave and smile at me.
My heart was pounding fast. Actually, girls like Sophia Cheney, for boys experiencing their first crush, would more or less have some attraction.
I did secretly watch her with my friends at school back then and had a crush on her. But she was too far out of my league.
I didn't take action like some of the bolder boys. I remembered I might have secretly taken a picture of her before.
Thinking of this, I got out of bed and found the high school photo album that had been put away for a long time. Inside, there was indeed a picture of Sophia Cheney wearing her school uniform, holding a stack of homework.
Originally, I.J.
UST wanted to take a picture of her back, but she suddenly turned around and even smiled. If her classmate hadn't walked up behind me, I would have almost thought she was smiling at me. I continued flipping through the album.
Every photo brought back memories. The day of our senior year graduation, a few friends cried until their eyes were swollen.
I secretly took pictures of them in the end.
Thinking back now, it's still very touching. Wait a minute.
I took the photo out and looked closely.
Not far behind me stood a girl. It was Sophia Cheney. Loved for many years by then, hadn't she already graduated 2 years ago?
And her gaze was directed right at me. Her lips were curved, her eyes full of tenderness, smiling with the brilliance of youth.
Could she have come back specifically to see me? I shook my head. How could that be? We barely spoke in high school. The only time was when I dropped my keychain pendant, and she found it. She called out to me to return it. But at the time, I was running late and just casually said I would go find her to get it. After that, I completely forgot about it. That was the only interaction I had with her in my first year of high school.
A week later, Sophia Cheney asked me out for dinner.
I was a little confused, but I agreed. That evening, she waited downstairs at my place for me. My mother was very excited, telling me to eat politely and helping me fix my hair. I didn't go out until Sophia Cheney rang the doorbell.
When I saw the dress she was wearing, I was momentarily stunned.
I awkwardly complimented her. It's very pretty. It suits you well.
She raised her hand to tuck her hair behind her ear.
Thank you. The restaurant Sophia Cheney chose was beautiful. I couldn't help but feel nervous. Were you at school the day I graduated? I asked her directly. Sophia Cheney nodded and said yes. I looked into her beautiful, sparkling eyes and asked her, why that day?
She looked at me seriously and read.
Because it was your graduation day.
Sophia Cheney said she was only half a year late, and she didn't expect me to be with Sarah Miller already. She had asked around, and my friends all said that Sarah Miller and I were very good together, so she gave up. It wasn't until recently, when Sarah Miller and I broke off the engagement, that she gathered the courage to find me. My heart suddenly fluttered. I had never imagined that someone out of my league like her would pause for me.
Alex Anderson, I like you very much. I want to pursue you.
I didn't respond to Sophia Cheney, and I didn't know how to respond.
She wasn't disappointed. Instead, she was happy that I hadn't gotten up and left angrily.
A month later, Sophia Cheney and I became a couple.
This time, I was the one who initiated the confession. My parents were very happy.
I didn't dare tell you before, my mother said, bringing in some fruit. Now that you and Sophia are together, I know you've moved on. She must have been talking about Sarah Miller.
What happened? My mother sat on my bed. Don't you know about Sarah Miller? I shook my head.
Although Sarah Miller had gotten a new phone number and sent me calls and text messages these past few days, I had blocked them all. Lately, she had been quiet.
My mother sighed.
Ethan Green's family sued Sarah Miller's parents. So Ethan Green's child was with his ex-girlfriend. All the money he had asked Sarah Miller for to pay for his illness these past few years had gone to his ex-girlfriend.
Sarah Miller wanting to marry Ethan Green, her parents would definitely find out. Those two old people were quite capable.
Within a few days, they had found out everything about Ethan Green from the past few years. But Sarah Miller firmly believed Ethan Green wouldn't lie to her and was still determined to marry him. Sarah Miller's parents felt that Ethan Green had misled Sarah Miller. They both attacked Ethan Green and sent him
to the hospital.
Ethan Green was already in poor health, and with this, he could only rely on medication to survive. Ethan Green's parents wouldn't let it go and sued Sarah Miller's parents. In the end, Sarah Miller had to pay money for them to agree to settle.
They're getting married soon too. I was surprised again. They're still getting married after all that? My mother nodded. What else can they do? Ethan Green is like this now. Ethan Green's family is forcing Sarah Miller to marry him. If Sarah Miller doesn't marry him, they'll sue her parents. I shook my head. What a tangled mess. Sophia Chaney and I got married a year later. The night before the wedding, Sarah Miller actually showed up downstairs.
She was so thin she was unrecognizable, like a lifeless shell that could be blown away by a gust of wind.
She had completely lost her former vivacious beauty.
It took me a long time to recognize her. When she saw me, she touched her face.
You can barely recognize me, can you? I shook my head. No.
She slowly managed a bitter smile.
I never expected. I'm sorry.
I didn't know how to respond.
She continued, this is my karma. She glanced around. I just wanted to see if you were doing well. Do you love her? I nodded. I love her. Sarah Miller smiled stiffly.
That's good.
Sarah Miller.
A sharp shout came.
Sarah Miller and I looked over. It was Ethan Green.
He was in a wheelchair now, his hair thin and yellow, his face sallow, his eye sockets sunken.
He looked a little scary.
His hands quickly turned the wheels of the wheelchair, coming towards us. As he approached, I caught a whiff of a terribly pungent odor and had to force myself not to gag.
I knew you came to see him. What? You know he's getting married and you can't bear it?
Sarah Miller looked at me, then sharply reprimanded him.
What are you talking about? Ethan Green looked at Sarah Miller and laughed mockingly. Why? Oh, you take a look at yourself now? Who do you think would want to be with you besides me? Sarah Miller's face flushed red.
A fierce glint flashed in her eyes.
She quickly walked over and pushed Ethan Green away. Ethan Green cursed loudly from the wheelchair. Many people in the neighborhood leaned out of their windows to look down. I shook my head and went back home to prepare for the wedding tomorrow.
I had said I would give her a grand wedding, and I did. After exchanging rings, I went back to the dressing room to change my outfit.
The server handed me an envelope. What is this? A woman asked me to give it to you. I opened it. It was a card and a note. The note said, this is the 300,000 yuan I owe you. The password is your birthday. Sarah Miller sent it.
I heard that she had been struggling financially because of Ethan Green's illness these past few years. I didn't know how she managed to save up this 300,000. But since she gave it to me, I certainly wouldn't refuse.
It was my money to begin with. After the wedding, Sophia Chaney and I went on our honeymoon. Our friends and family knew and didn't disturb us with messages. That month was just for Sophia Chaney and me. When we got home, Sophia Chaney's parents personally picked us up at the airport. Her father thought very highly of me and even hoped I would work at their company.
It wasn't until the next day at my place that my mother told me Sarah Miller had been arrested. She had killed Ethan Green.
After killing him, she didn't run away. She went straight to the police station to turn herself in. Their mutual torment had finally ended.
In the end, Sarah Miller was sentenced to 17 years.
Sophia Chaney asked me, do you want to visit someone in prison?
I lowered my head, kissed the woman in my arms, and shook my head.
No. I'm not her anything. Sophia Chaney smiled sweetly. Good. I had found my own happiness.